Live. It's live. Going live.
There we go. There's no counting. Hi, welcome to episode 7 of the Ben Around the World podcast. This week I'm chatting with Tim and Adam from Total Bike Forever, waving in the corner, who are cycling and doing some crazy music stuff as well. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello. Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Thanks for joining, taking your lunchtime off to speak to me. So start with, how do you guys know each other? How did you meet?
We met through a mutual friend. We actually met at a music festival in Paris, which is quite fitting for what we're doing now. About 10 years ago. Eight years ago.
If you feel like you've known me longer, that's good.
I feel like I've known you all my life.
That's great.
Yeah, since then we've kind of been friends and been in bands and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and here we are now.
Musical partners in crime.
Yeah.
And so how did you get into the cycling side of things?
I mean, when you live in London, I guess you cycle all around the city. That's the way you get around. And then we just kind of started to venture out a little bit further. Did a couple of little cycle trips, like overnighters and stuff. And then yeah, we kind of dreamt this up in a greasy spoon, actually, in London, which was nice. And just suddenly, we wanted to go to Japan, but we didn't want to fly there. So, the most logical thing after that is to cycle, I think.
Of course.
It's what anyone would do who wants to go to Japan. But we didn't want to not do music, you see. So that was, we had to get into. So we were like, let's just write an album as well. And fortunately, we're doing both of those things still. So
yeah. It's going well.
Nice. So have you been producing music together before this?
Yeah, we had a band that we were kind of playing in just before we left, called Bermuda, and before that we played in another band as well, and then we were kind of just like making music all the time, really, be it as part of a project or not. And it was just one of those things where we just got to a point where everything else gets a bit serious and a bit heavy, and you realise that if you don't give it a good try now, to sort of stop the rat race life and give a try of the thing that you love to do, then you probably never would do it. So that was kind of that was what we wanted to do, really.
Nice. So what were you guys doing before for work?
I worked at a creative studio where we built kind of websites for movies.
Nice.
And
I was a television producer.
Nice. So you're giving up the game to get into music, and
yeah, feels like it.
So obviously it's quite hard to produce music at the best of times, but considering that you have to carry everything with you on the bike, it's another level, really. So what do you have in terms of instruments and music making kit with you?
We've got the laptop, obviously, which is quite a powerful tool, but we don't use the stuff in the laptop much. Like, I think quite a few people that have seen us perform have been quite surprised at how little we actually use the software in the laptop to make sounds. We have a Teenage Engineering OP1. We have a Roland, what's it called?
SH108.
That's it. So it's like a boutique kind of version of the 101 they brought out in the 80s. We have a Make Noise O-Coast, which is like a sort of semi-modular sort of synth, patchable. And then and we have a Zoom mic, and we just record stuff with that, and then we use Ableton to chop it all up and Logic to edit it. And then
as well as using other people.
Yeah, we use other people as well.
We use other people for their dulcet tones or their instruments or any weird little noises that they like to make.
Nice. So what kind of collaborations have you done so far?
It's kind of been all sorts, really. Weirdly, it started off as mainly drummers that we met. We met 2 drummers, one in France and one in Turkey, that we played with and worked with, and that was really fun. We met a really cool flautist in Italy, and he was kind of, it was really great because
Classical.
yeah, classical man. And we recorded him playing, and then he was like, look, I can do all these other noises with the flute as well. So he ended up recording him, you know, kind of closing and opening the valves on the flute, if you call them valves. And yeah, and then all sorts, really, kind of like traditional musicians from different countries as well, singers. And then there's also kind of the people that we meet and the, you know, just the instruments that we hear people playing. So as opposed to actually collaborating in a more formal way, just recording, you know,
That's a bit more sneaky.
it's the sort of sneak tactic, yeah. And in fact, we did a radio show.
We haven't got any consent on that.
No, neither. Well, yeah, I mean, they better not listen to it. There was a guy that we recorded in Uzbekistan, and I was listening back to the sample of the day, and you can hear like someone emptying a bin in the background and stuff. So it kind of adds a lot of, I don't know, it's none of it's very clean, which is kind of like a good thing and a bad thing about it, because we haven't recorded anything in a studio, so nothing is like perfect sound quality, but sometimes it works really well and it adds a real level of like grit and kind of warmth to all of the sounds and the collaborations that we've done. But sometimes it's really annoying. And sometimes you just wish that you could just kind of put someone in a you know, a soundproof box, but it's just not.
Don't have them in the desert.
We don't have them in the desert, and we don't have them on our bikes. So yeah, I was actually sitting in a. We were. Somebody was driving us around a town in Thailand recently, and somebody we met on warm showers. I'm sure that you know you use warm showers, and she was driving us around, and I was sitting in the car, and it was so quiet in the car, and I was thinking it'd be such a good way to record stuff in a car, because obviously, you know, they're everywhere and they're so sort of padded and soft inside. So, you know, maybe that'll be the next thing, just locking people in cars and forcing them to record stuff we can record.
Your portable recording booth.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you're performing along the way as well, right? What's been the most interesting gig that you've done?
Well, the performing was a real kind of like, we didn't expect to do it at all. It wasn't part of the plan, or it wasn't like, it wasn't something that we were anticipating doing. So we didn't really have a rig to play live. So we had to kind of cobble it together as we were going. And the first gig that we played was quite weird, wasn't it? It was in Macedonia, and it was with a guy, another guy we met on warm showers. And it was just like very ambient, like very kind of like whale music, lift music kind of thing. And it was a bit odd, but it was, I mean, that itself was kind of like a bit in at the deep end, wasn't it?
Well, it was all improvised, so.
Yeah. And then since then we've kind of, we've played a different, you know, played in different cities. We've DJ'd, we've, you know, performed with people. But I'd say that was probably the weirdest one, wasn't it? The first one.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. Yeah, it was pretty weird.
And the guy he brought his entire, basically he built this sort of software synthesizer on Ableton, but it was on like a tower PC. So he had to bring the tower PC to the venue, and like he was playing it, and then at the end,
it didn't work.
Yeah, it stopped working. He went to the toilet, it stopped working, and he came back, and he got a bit cross with us because he was like, "You tampered with it." And we were like, "No, we haven't." So
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we don't know what you're doing. So that was quite weird. But after that, they kind of leveled out of it, didn't they?
Yeah, we've got into our stride with it now, so we can play anywhere at any time. You kind of, at first, you're like, what are we going to play? Because you haven't written any songs. Well, you have, but now we can just play we can have a very small idea on what a song is, and then just play it for like ages and just mess around with it, because you just get better at playing. So now we can play anywhere. We just, to be honest, we say we need a speaker, but we actually have a speaker. So actually we could just play in the middle of, you know, anywhere anyone asks or whatever, you could just start playing. So
that's awesome.
That's the great thing about being 100%, you know, portable. Yeah,
it's something that you don't really associate with electronic music. You imagine it's someone with a violin or a guitar sitting in the corner busking, not with you know, teenage engineering.
See that, and you record the sound, and then you put it into your laptop and make it sound better.
Nice.
Yeah. It's interesting actually when you sort of dig into it. I wouldn't say it's a big community at all, but there's definitely a community of people out there doing things outdoors. I wouldn't necessarily say that we've come across anybody else who's doing something similar to what we are, but there's definitely kind of musicians who they'll take their rigs outside. They'll kind of like create these like battery packs and ways of powering their electronic instruments and taking them to different places. There's a guy actually we saw on Instagram who had this like huge keyboard rack that he was powering with a battery that he bought off, like a huge battery that he bought off Amazon. But it's obviously pretty prohibitive to us because we've got to cycle everywhere with everything. So it's like small and light is still kind of like what we have to do. But it's great because it is, as Adam says, there's been so many times where we've been on like amazing beaches or like up mountains or in all sorts of different places, and you can just kind of get the instruments out and jam or write music there and then. And because the places you travel through are so inspiring, but it's just a great way of doing it,
Absolutely. As long as you've got the battery power, I suppose that's the key.
Yeah, that's the trick.
So going back to the kind of the trip, the cycle side more broadly, what has been your route so far and where you're going? You're going to Tokyo, did you say?
Yeah.
Final destination.
Final destination, yeah, it's Tokyo. We've cycled down through Europe, sort of down through France, and into Italy, and then we kind of just headed east through the Balkan countries, into Turkey. We actually detoured back to Bulgaria to play at a festival there.
Yes. I was just watching that video. I think I was in Bulgaria at the time, but I didn't end up there. Yeah. What's it called? Meadows in the Mountain or something?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I heard good things, but I didn't make it myself, unfortunately.
No, it was good. And then we kind of headed east through Turkey, through up north through Georgia, and then down to Azerbaijan. And then we got the ferry across the Caspian Sea.
I've heard that's quite a mysterious ferry, right? It's
not a ferry.
No, it's not a ferry.
It's a cargo ship.
How long did you have to wait for it?
I think, how long were we there?
4 days at the port, 3 days on the ship. People have to wait a lot longer. Some people are lucky. It is a mystery. You're right. It's you're not in control of the situation. There's no timetable. They don't give you much information, so suddenly they'll be like, "Yeah, come on, get on the ship," but people can be waiting for weeks. Which, to be honest, if you have to wait down there, it's not good because it's like a port on the coast, obviously surrounded by like desert landscape. It's pretty grim, to be honest. But fortunately for us, there's a lot of other people doing the same thing. So there's like the real camaraderie down there. People are just kind of like sitting about, like hanging out, just chatting, and basically all wanting to know the same thing. But after a few days, you kind of mellow out about it because you're just like, well, it's out of your control. But at first, like, when is it? Just tell me when it's going to happen. Is it tomorrow? Is it the next day? And they just don't know.
They have a line that the guys they all use. It's like, not tomorrow, but 50% the next day. And you just do that for 4 days straight, and you're just like, okay, I'm not just going to stop asking.
Interesting. And so, did you meet some other travellers there? I suppose that everyone collects waiting for it.
Yeah, I mean, when we got there wasn't anyone.
Yeah, we were the only ones there, and we thought, oh, we just missed one. Or so. I don't know. If you go to a port, you expect to see people, and like waiting for something, but there was literally no one there.
Yeah.
And like the ticket office, and like they're all these little, like this little shop, but they're all in shipping containers, and you wouldn't know they're there unless you pull open the door. And then you walk in, you're like, oh. Yeah. But there was no one there. But then slowly people started to arrive, didn't they? But
and there was a lot of people doing the Mongol rally, and they were kind of. It was actually quite funny for us because we were the first ones there. You sort of see the collection growing, and it went from, because we were kind of at the front of the queue, I guess. We were always going to get on the next boat.
We thought that.
Yeah, but that was like we thought that, and then there was guys that were like, their visas were running out, and then they kind of had to jump the queue and get ahead of that. But then we got the ferry that we eventually got was a cargo boat. It wasn't a ferry, as Adam says. There's no ferries. It's all freight.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, the one that we got was like I'd never seen it before. It's like a boat purely for trains. So it kind of docks at the ferry port with the railway tracks. The trains roll on. It goes across the sea, and then they roll off the other side.
Wow.
And because of that, there was no room for cars. They couldn't have any cars on there, and they were really they were kind of a bit iffy about bikes, because they were saying if there's any like flammable liquids on the trains, and they wouldn't allow bikes. So there was minimum of about 30 Mongol rally cars, maybe. Do you reckon? Maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. But they weren't allowed on. None of them were allowed on. So they're just kind of there waiting there, and it's kind of a race, half a race kind of thing. And I was quite glad they were getting a bit cross, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like they're gonna be waiting for a while if there's that many.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it was great. We met some great people, as Adam says, and we ended up cycling with a lot of them for a few months after that, because everybody's kind of going in a similar direction. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So where did you go from the other side of the Caspian Sea?
We got to Kazakhstan, and then we spent about a week cycling through the desert there. And then we headed into Uzbekistan and sort of down sort of southeast to the sort of capital. No, we didn't go to the capital city, did we, in Uzbekistan?
No.
And then we started kind of climbing towards Dushanbe in Tajikistan. And then it's across the Pamir Highway into Kyrgyzstan. And then we flew from Bishkek, which is the capital of Kyrgyzstan, to Delhi, because we couldn't get Pakistani visas. A lot of people send their passports home, but it means waiting for 2 months for minimum, really. So we were kind of just a bit like, no. And then we cycled through North India into Nepal, and then out the other side through East India into Myanmar, then down to Bangkok in Thailand, and then north to here into Laos.
Nice. And how long has that taken you so far?
About 10 months, I think, so far. Okay. Yeah. We started in start of March. Okay.
Nice. And out of those countries, what were your sort of high points, would you say?
We really enjoyed being in Turkey. It was kind of the first, it felt far from home, and it was like the first time it had happened, so that was quite exciting. And the people there are great, and the food's great, and it felt different in a great way. It was really cool. And then the west of India was awesome as well, because it's kind of, you hear a lot of I don't know. I don't think cyclists enjoy being there. I don't know what your experience is, but I think you get a lot of people, they land there and it's just kind of like chaos, which it is. But I think we quite liked it, and the food's great, and the people, once you get to sort of work it out a bit, it's all good. And we played the first week of being there, we played a really good gig and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think we really enjoyed it there as well.
Nice. And on the flip side, have you had any bad experiences? Have you had any crashes or breakdowns? Or...
Yeah, I've had 2 crashes.
I think you better talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over there.
Yeah, I've had 2 crashes. One, I sort of slipped down we were cycling in the rain in Turkey, and my bike skidded down a rocky road, and I thought I just hurt my knee when I fell off, and then I sort of cut my arm, and we had to go to a hospital, and I had to have it stitched up. And that was kind of like a bad but good experience, because the doctor that looked after me and the people that were there were great. It was just like they must never have any. They said that the only people that they ever treat tourists wise are people that have eaten too many sweets. That's it. So they've had too much sugar, and they need to be calmed down a bit. So that's it. So they were just so happy to see us, and we were kind of
a proper injury.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just 4 stitches. Wow, this is casualty or something. And then so that wasn't actually too bad. But then when we were in East India, a dog ran into my front wheel.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really weird.
Silent assassin.
Yeah, it was out of nowhere. Dogs, they bark and they want to try and bite you. And the worst that we'd seen before would be someone being bitten, But this dog was just it was really weird. It ran straight into my front wheel, snapped 7 of the spokes, and I flew over the front of the handlebars, hit
Wow.
my head, cut my head open. Had to go to like this sort of village kind of emergency room, and then had to go to A&E in a town called Shillong in East India, and like Silchar, sorry, yeah. And it was just like, it was so intense. It was just it was a bit of an overload. Being in casualty in India is definitely not for the faint-hearted, and yeah, it's just really hard. It's just really difficult, and it was kind of like a bit of a delayed reaction because you're just sort of dealing with the trauma of it, and then about 3 weeks later, I was just a bit like, wow, that really happened.
Yeah, it's a big shock, I imagine.
Yeah, so that was kind of bad, but you know, just you kind of give it a bit of time and you get over it, really. So
just get away from
it as fast as you can. So yeah, that was it really. Kind of, yeah, those are my 2 incidents. Yeah.
pros.
Then turn into an iceman.
Oh, just lost you there for a second. Yeah, it's not too bad out of 10 months to 2 little incidents like that. You seem to be doing all right.
Yeah, I feel like it's just,
Yeah, you're doing all right.
I'm doing all right. Yeah,
you're doing all right.
I think I can take another one.
You're doing all right.
Yeah, you're about due.
Yeah.
Nice. And so from now, from Laos, whereabouts are you heading to get to Japan? Through China?
We're going north. So one of the guys that we crossed the Caspian Sea with, Ian, absolute hero of ours.
Shout out to Ian.
Shout out to our main man, Ian. Yeah.
Biket World.
Yeah, at Biket World. He basically cycled the route that we're doing now earlier in 2018. So we're kind of following in his hallowed footsteps. So we're going north up through the sort of Chinese provinces in Laos, and then into Vietnam, and then towards Sapa, and then down towards Hanoi, where we're flying to South Korea.
Nice. And so will you be cycling in South Korea?
Yeah, we'll be cycling in South Korea. I haven't really kind of worked out a plan of how we're going to do that yet, or where we're going to go, because it's quite a small place, but they love cyclists, and it seems like
it's quite easy to get around.
Yeah, I just don't think it won't be too taxing, you know. So I think it'd be nice to sort of see how we go.
Yeah, it's a shame it's blocked off from getting back to China.
Yeah,
although anyone cycling through North Korea so far.
It's funny actually. We were talking to a guy.
You can try.
Yeah, knocking the door. Hello. We were talking to a guy yesterday or the day before when we were in the mountains here, and he'd cycled through China. He spent 3 months cycling through China, and I haven't heard anybody moan about cycling or like traveling as much as he did. It was actually quite refreshing to hear someone like not like, it's the best experience of my life, you know. And he was just like, oh God, I wish I'd never done it. I wish I'd never done it. So we
say that.
What did he say? He was kind of like
that. He basically said it was quite a difficult experience, and he's kind of like he just wants to get to the beach and relax. That's kind of what he said.
And he said it was out of everything he could imagine he'd ever done or will do, it would be the worst experience of his life. He didn't say that. It wasn't that.
Wow.
But yeah, it was. But we've heard it a few times, and I'm sort of quite glad that we didn't do it in the end.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some countries are definitely much more cycling friendly than others.
Yeah.
Nice. And so when do you want to, then from there, are you going to fly to Japan? Is that the idea?
No, I think we'll get the ferry.
From
From Busan to one of the islands in Japan. We haven't quite worked out where it goes to yet.
I think we'll do some cycling there. I've heard Japan is amazing for cycling as well.
Yeah. So were you there? Were you in Japan cycling, or were you there?
I wasn't cycling. No, I was there with my sister for a conference a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're planning to sort of spend about 2 months, sort of 6 weeks in Japan. So cycling.
Nice.
Yeah.
And have you got any music stuff planned for Tokyo?
We have actually got one gig in a city, in a town sort of just north of Tokyo, and a guy who runs a coffee shop there, who's been following our trip for pretty much the entire journey. And he just months ago was like, as soon as you get here, you can play. So yeah, that's probably the most prepared we've been for anything.
Yeah, this is waiting for you now.
Yeah. But we'll, I'm sure we'll organise something. Yeah.
Nice. And more generally, Have you saw on your website you've got some sponsors on there? Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, we do.
My mum.
Yeah, my mum. She's
my big.
Yeah, our mums are our main sponsors. They're great. Yeah, we basically Stolen Goat provide our cycling gear, and it's been really good. They post our blog on their blog pages, and then we kind of write for them, and in return they give us our cycling gear, and
she's very, 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 very excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is awesome.
The best
get.
cycling gear I've ever had. So,
and that's, in fact, it was actually we got to when we got to Bangkok, I sent them a video of the bib shorts that I was wearing, and it's 6 months solid, and I was wearing these bib shorts, and they were actually transparent. So I think out of we asked them, and we said we're the only people that have actually tested their gear to destruction. So I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a very extreme test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And if people want to follow what you're doing, whereabouts should they go?
Well, if you search for Total Bike Forever anywhere, absolutely anywhere, you'll find us. So YouTube, Instagram, online, wherever, you know.
Nice. Your branding has done well.
Facebook, yeah. Twitter, yeah.
Nice. Did you say SoundCloud?
SoundCloud,
yeah.
Spotify,
yeah. Mixcloud, I think.
MySpace.
Yeah, Bebo. You can't do is fax us. We haven't got a fax number.
No, too heavy to carry on the bike.
Yeah, it's too heavy.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting, guys. I'm super interested in your collaboration between music and cycling, and I'm subscribed to you on YouTube, so I'll keep an eye out for your remaining couple of months on the road.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Nice one. Cheers, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.